Good evening and welcome to Behind the Mystery, the show that challenges what you know and pushes your brain to the limit on all things mysterious. Unfortunately, Miles is still unwell and will not be joining us for the rest of the series. We all wish him a speedy recovery. But as always, my name is David Richardson.
And my name is Kim Cox. This week we will be looking into all things extraterrestrial, including the famous moon landing conspiracy theory and the mysterious Area 51. We will also be sending a viewer to test their detective skills in the forensic field.
Here's what you can expect to see from the show today. Never actually happened. On July the 20th, 1969, three American astronauts, Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong and Michael Collins, piloted the Apollo 11 spacecraft and were the first men to step foot on the surface of the Earth's moon.
Armstrong and Aldrin traversed the moon's surface for a whole 21 hours and 36 minutes before returning to lunar orbit, where Collins was aboard an orbiting command module. The launch was broadcast to the world, and when the astronauts returned, they came bearing a multitude of photographs from their mission.
As unbelievable as it may seem, many believe that the landings were faked and set up as a collaborative effort between the American and Russian governments.
So, what makes people think this? There are many reasons that people feel this to be the case. The majority of these come from an analysis of the photos taken of Neil Armstrong whilst he walked the surface, including people pointing out that in the photo, the flag placed down by the Apollo 11 astronauts should not flutter, as they say it does in the photo, due to the void of wind on the moon.
So, the flag fluttering, an interesting theory. Obviously no atmosphere on the moon as such, so no wind, so flutter, flutter, flutter.
Yeah, it clearly cannot flutter, it should be static.
But obviously in the pictures, it obviously shows this crinkling look as though it's fluttering.
It does.
There is also an alternative argument that the US faked the landings in an effort to prove their superiority to Russia during the Cold War, where both powers were competing for technology.
Furthermore, people identified that the shadows on one of the photos doesn't match up, and if they were in fact on the moon, where the only light source would be the sun, why do some of the shadows appear like this? Could it be studio lights? Not only this, but it's also highlighted that one of the rocks in the photo appears to be marked with the letter C, leading people to believe that it's a staged shot with the rock being a badly decorated prop.
So, a rock with the letter C in this photograph, questionable?
Well, it could be a trick of light. C could be a marking in the rock.
It could just be a literal coincidence.
Well, like a vein.
Yes, there was that possibility. Then obviously you've got the light situation as well.
Exactly.
So these are obviously interesting theories that we have here. Theorists additionally though point out that you cannot see any stars in the background. Scientists, however, respond that the light from the sun reflecting on the moon's surface is too bright for any camera to capture objects in the distance. So now obviously we've got it being too bright and there being no stars. Another theory here.
Yeah, it's... what's your personal thoughts on this?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, obviously I wasn't around when it first happened, but I would like to think that we did land on the moon, and these people weren't living a lie. Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong and Michael Collins. That would be horrendous.
It would. With all this in mind, how credible do you think this theory is? We'd love to know your thoughts on our Twitter at _BTM show.
This week, instead of our regular Mandela effect, we're going to talk about a trending topic that has sent people into a frenzy all across the world.
In the middle of the barren Nevada desert, there's a dusty, unmarked road that leads to the front gate of Area 51. It's protected by a mere few warning and trespassing signs. Surely there could be no top secret government project going on there? Or is that simply what they want you to think?
Hotel.
Start, 2, 1, boost ignition, and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery, returning to the space station, paving the way for future missions beyond.
Now, there has been talks about cameras of every possible entrance to the site. Even talk of sensors on the road approaching the gate. But what is hidden in this mysterious barren land? Some believe it is the site where filming took place of the famous 1969 moon landing we previously mentioned earlier on in the show. Others talk of alien experiments taking place within the site.
Bob Lazar is the name well known upon theorists of this story, for he's a former worker at Area 51. Lazar spoke out in May of 1989 about the work he'd been doing for the United States government. In an interview, he stated that he'd worked on reverse engineering of several flying saucers. Lazar has since been discredited for all of his claims he made, but is this just simply the government trying to hide their mistake? Or is Lazar just crazy?
Remember to tweet us at _BTM show and let us know your thoughts. Who knows, we may just read them out on the next show. But next up, it's that time again. We're sending one of our viewers to attempt to deconstruct a crime scene that we've created with the help of our Behind the Mystery forensic team.
Hi, and welcome back to this week's Forensic Crime Scene. I'm Chloe, and today I'll be joined by Callum.
Hey.
So, this is currently an active crime scene, so we are not allowed to touch anything, as it will contaminate the evidence. And we will have a quick run through of what you think has happened, and at the end of it, I will tell you whether you're correct and what has actually happened.
Sounds good.
So, what do you think could have possibly happened here?
Well, it's obviously a makeshift bed in a garage. There's no proof of who would have been here, but there's only one handcuff. So I don't mean to sound misogynistic, but I assume the victim was a female.
So we can take a closer look at the handcuffs, which you described. As you can see, there is a small weight down there, and if you look further behind, there is some links which have held the middle of the handcuffs together. So the victim in this case has managed to smash them, and they must have some form of knowledge of handcuffs because they would have known to break the links rather than the cuff around the hand, and that also could have caused injury to them. So there is a toolbox here. Do you think that could have been used in any way?
Yeah, I think they definitely could have tried to use one of the tools to get out, or maybe the suspect was using it as a weapon, torturing the victim.
So what do you think actually happened here from start to finish?
So I think there's obviously a victim kept here, probably a woman, with just one handcuff, and they used one of the weights, either the small one or the big one, to get out. As you said, with the chains, they got out, and then they tried to use the tools to get out that door, and then they went out with the other door.
That's good. So this is actually what happened. The suspect forcibly handcuffed the victim to the pole. As the suspect leaves the room, the victim scans around the room looking for an object to try and break the cuffs. The plate here is evidence that she has been here for some time and he has been feeding her, clearly uncuffing her and recuffing her for different reasons that we are yet to identify. The pattern in which these weights are on the floor shows that the victim firstly tried this door here but couldn't open it and accidentally knocked the weights off the chair. The victim then manages to push open the garage door and crawls out to run away. This then leads the original report to the police by a bystander who saw a woman running hysterically.
The Flat Earth Society has gained huge traction in the past decade, with members truly believing that the Earth is flat and all evidence to the contrary, such as satellite photos of Earth as a sphere, are deemed fabrications of a round Earth conspiracy, orchestrated by NASA and other government agencies.
The flat earthers believe the Earth is a disk with the Arctic Circle in the centre and Antarctica is a 150-foot tall wall of ice around the rim. They say NASA employees guard this ice wall to prevent people from climbing over and falling off the disk.
Earth's day and night cycle is explained by considering that the Sun and Moon are spheres that move in circles 3,000 miles above the plane of the Earth. Like spotlights, these celestial spheres illuminate different portions of the planet in a 24-hour cycle. Flat Earthers believe there must also be an invisible anti-moon that obscures the Moon during lunar eclipses.
Furthermore, they say Earth's gravity is an illusion. Objects do not accelerate downward, instead the disk of Earth accelerates upward, driven up by a mysterious force called dark energy. As for what lies underneath the disk of Earth, this is unknown, but most flat earthers believe it is composed of rocks.
Joining us today is Matt Ashby to discuss his theories and opinions on the subject. Hi Matt, could you please tell us your thoughts on the conspiracy?
You're right. So I'm very on the fence in the fact that I think I go on the theory that if you see it, you can believe it. But as much as I'd love to say, you know, the world is round or the world is flat, I have no evidence to prove to you that either one is true. I mean, I've been in a plane, but you know, you can only see as far as your eye can see. So I wouldn't be able to say to you 100% that the world is round or the world is flat.
Okay, right, just one second. So this is the bit, Kim, where we like to go to our mystery board.
Yes.
And start writing. So if you'd like to go over to the mystery board for us. Right, okay, so flat Earth. Flat Earth, okay. So a massive following recently, I believe, on social media networks. Obviously, it's got very big on there. So it's something like 200,000?
It's just about 200,000 on Facebook alone.
Yeah, so it's getting quite big,
big traction.
Obviously, as said before, this wall of ice and NASA blocking it, guarding it. I mean,
that's if NASA really is what people think it is. I mean, one of the big arguments for flat Earth is that NASA is really just a whole nother conspiracy theory in itself, and it's the way that government funding is being mistreated. And like you've said previously, it'd be much easier to fake. Photoshop's such a technical piece of equipment these days that it's so easy to fake anything that you could get away with fabricating a whole sort of government organisation, keeping all the money. And think about it: if I'm paying you £200,000 a year to keep a secret that that we've been to the moon and things like that, they're all kind of ties together. I think there's a fair big argument.
That many people to have to pay off as such for this situation is obviously quite a unbelievable factor, one would say. I mean, obviously we've got the whole idea of sundials, with the way that the sun obviously reflects the shadow and makes the light, depending on the time, and that seems to be always right. So without the flat Earth situation, that obviously wouldn't be possible. And then obviously planes flying across the thing.
Wow.
And now they're saying GPSs are making it so that you not feel like you're going around in circles.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, the thing is, even though the idea of flat Earth is a very sceptical one, people that believe that the flat Earth, the Earth is flat, their theories of it being flat might not even be true. I mean, it could still be flat, and they just have the wrong idea of how it all works. Because is that making sense? I mean,
yeah.
Although it might not be flat, or if it is flat, they might just have the wrong idea of how or why the science behind the moons and whatnot.
So what we're saying is the photographs that we have seen that are in schools, universities, colleges, of the moon up in the sky, and then obviously the same with the Earth being up in the sky and it being spherical, are photoshopped.
I mean, I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no. I mean, I don't have the knowledge to disprove it, which is why I would say I'm on the fence at this point. But I think that an idea which has got such a big traction behind it, surely it would have been dismissed 10 years ago if someone said, "Oh, the Earth's flat." You go, "No, it's not." There you go. You would have moved on. But why are people still talking about it?
But I mean, this is a conspiracy theory that has been going on for decades, millennia. I mean, we're going back to the time of
the... But why is it going on for so long?
The Egyptians and stuff, and that's where you sort of, and the mid-ages and all those sort of times is when you think, oh, people weren't clever enough, they didn't have the technology, the information, the understanding of the whole flat Earth situation, and then you get people like, Galileo and Aristotle, and people like that who are now saying that the Earth is definitely round and was being laughed at, and yet in 2019 we're still having this discussion.
Well, I think that people are constantly being disproved, so, I mean, you never know, in 10, 20 years' time, we could have a complete different idea.
Maybe. There's always a possibility. Thank you for your time today.
You're very welcome.
Much appreciated. So, I mean, that's where it leaves us, really, doesn't it? I mean, there's not much more to...
I mean, the fact that there's such a big following behind it is one of my main reasons why I'm on the fence.
And this is the frightening part. About the whole thing. So thank you very much for joining us today, Matt. It was a pleasure to hear your thoughts on the subject. Don't forget to tell us what you guys at home thought. What do you think is happening in Area 51?
As the theme for this week is centred around space and the extraterrestrial, we're going to talk about some popular theories surrounding all things space-related.
This is including the fantastic story and conspiracy of lizard people, Ceruleans from Alpha Draconis, very much like in the TV series V. I don't know if you've seen that.
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, so the belief is by this English conspiracy theorist that David Icke, his name is, he's very well known, supposedly in these circles of this belief, that these creatures have come from the Alpha Draconis space nebula, I suppose you would say, to this country, this planet, this Earth, to become us, look like us, but in actual fact, they're actually lizard people. This is the belief on it. Under his belief of it, he's under the understanding that they are tall, and
Speaking of tall.
and they like to eat blood. Obviously, that's not something you would see on a regular basis, but they look just like me and you. I mean, we could be one. The camera people here could be one. Actually, to be fair, some of the camera could be some of them.
It's a pretty scary idea.
It is. It's absolutely frightening. Absolutely frightening. This goes back as far as 1969, 1967, 68, around that sort of time, where you're looking at the abduction of a policeman in Nebraska. He said he was abducted by this alien race lizard type thing, which is just...
But aren't there many, many, many supposed abductions?
Oh, huge. Oh, hugely. I mean, huge, huge. But unfortunately, that is all we have time for on Themed Theories. Before we wrap up, let's have a look at what you had to say about last week's episode.
Now in this segment, we give our viewers the chance to showcase their thoughts from our previous episodes on the show. Let's take a look at what you've had to say.
So, on Instagram, @Ewan1McPhillips says that he loves the mystery board. Who doesn't love the mystery board? Thank you so much.
On Instagram, Kids Grills says Donald Trump is a time traveller. Mind blown.
This, of course, goes back to the first week. We were looked into Donald and the Trump family being time travellers. The Baron Trump ideas. Brilliant one. I'm glad you liked that. That was good news. Also on Instagram, Ollie Cullimore1 says, I love the tall presenter. Seems like such a nice guy. You are right, Ollie. He is such a nice guy. I have it on good authority.
On Instagram, Charles Straw says, wish I knew what happened to Eliza Lamb.
Don't we all? Don't we all? This is last week again. Eliza Lamb, fascinating story, absolutely strange as anything. And on Twitter, @BethMary1 says, is the Earth flat? I don't know. Is it flat? That is a question we all need to be knowing.
And lastly, on Twitter, Carly6154609 says, loving the show, so glad it's back this week.
And we are glad that it's back this week. I'm glad that someone's actually turned up with me this week. Is that her number? I'd love to know if that's her number. If that's your number, you can give us a call. Yeah? And those were some amazing tweets and Instagram comments. Thanks, guys.
If you want the chance to voice your opinions and theories, then make sure you tweet us your thoughts on this week's show.
Unfortunately, that's all we have time for this week. What was your favourite part of the show? Let us know by sharing your thoughts on Twitter, and don't forget to tweet us @_BTM Show. And if you can't wait until our next episode, take a look at our Instagram to see some exclusive behind the scenes of the making of the show.
Now that's it for today. We will see you for our last show this Friday, where we'll be discussing the Illuminati. And as always, we will bring you a new crime scene to try to investigate. Have a good night, and we'll see you on Friday. Goodbye.